Hey trans youth, it is a wonderful Tuesday morning, well technically way late on a Tuesday morning, which technically makes me late for my video. What I want to do is I want to talk about the topic for the rest of this week, but first we do have some preliminary things. We actually do have a spot open for Trans Youth Channel, and we've had it for a small while, and we're still in the process of making those applications, but please be patient with us. We're currently going through a bit of background stuff and trying to look at the rules for Trans Youth Channel as it does grow and make sure that everything is kind of doing okay, make sure that everything becomes more concrete, and we will certainly be contacting people as soon as we feel ready, okay? So I certainly do know that we have a few wild cards currently waiting, and we can definitely contact you as soon as possible. And with that having been said, we're just going to move right on into the topic here. This topic is something I may have a little bit of trouble answering. It's about those who had a romantic attraction to you, perhaps a romantic relation with you, or perhaps didn't really do anything but just had this feeling toward you in high school, and now, after your transition, you've gotten a little repercussion from that. So this is about all of those people that loved you, liked you, didn't really talk to you, but admired you, and how they reacted after transition. So regarding all of this, I have had a few run-ins as far as that goes, especially when I had just started coming out and everything. I want to talk about 3 of those. The first one I did actually have a romantic relation with, and for almost a year at that matter. The second one was maybe about 3 days, as well as the third one, which was maybe about 2 weeks, but it gets a little complicated. The first one was with this girl that I dated in 10th grade, and there was a lot of issues going on with it because it was 10th grade and her mother and father did not want her to be dating. She was scared to come out about a relationship with me, and when she did ask me out, she asked that it be a little bit hush-hush. She was actually the first person I had ever dated, and I did not let her know this at the time, but I was actually quite a bit more comfortable with keeping the relationship secret than she had thought. And the reason was because I hadn't searched through all of my feelings. I wasn't sure where I was going, and when it came to a relationship, I had no idea what I was doing. To be honest, to begin, I did not have an attraction to her at all. I was just curious and I didn't know what to do, and I went through that first relationship and we just kind of went through it together. So as things developed, I started gaining a mental attraction to her, and I started really liking her. I don't really have a physical attraction at all, but I started liking her to the point where I could be with her romantically, and that was maybe about 6 or 7 months in. Then I started desiring, and this is kind of awkward to admit, to be her. I ended up asking several different questions that I'm not really too sure if she connected, and every single time we tried to get into an intimate setting, which it seemed like she did want, all I could really do is think, I wish I had her body, and I wish I was her. I wish I looked like her, to be honest. And that's incredibly awkward, and I really hope she's not watching. So after I had transitioned, she had come to me and she was very surprised, but not necessarily in a bad way. She had actually dated another trans person that came out after she ended up dating, so there were a few jokes regarding that. But afterward, it ended up with her saying, hey, I like you better this way. You're actually emotional, you actually have feelings, and it seems like you can finally get to a point where you can properly connect with a person. And she was right for that part. I had to find myself before I could do anything with her or with anyone else as a partner. It was actually kind of amazing. She ended up giving me my first tube of lip gloss ever. Now the second person that I do want to talk about is actually a guy who did come out as gay shortly before the time when I did come out, and he was also one of those awkward people that I was friends with and everything through high school. We always talked to each other and we were always talking like guys and everything, and neither of us did very well at that. So after I had come out and everything, he brought me aside at a certain event that we were kind of at, and he started talking to me, and he's just like, you know, I have to confess, I had a major attraction to you before you transitioned to being a girl. And I was kind of surprised at this, and I was also kind of exploring my sexuality now that I had been out, and I wasn't exactly too sure how to react. I mean, I'm perfectly fine dating a guy or a girl or a trans guy or a trans girl because I am pansexual, so I decided, hey, why not? Sure, let's try this. Now, he had a few problems with the fact that I had transitioned from male to female, but he didn't necessarily have any problems with dating me because he thought that I was still me, and for the most part, he was correct. The issues with that relationship ended up not being transition-based in any way, shape, or form, but just who we were. We could only really talk as surface people, and really all it felt like to me was that we would only ever be friends. Now the third one. The third one is a little bit difficult. This is actually a girl that I knew in high school, was somewhat attracted to, but never did anything with because she was out as a lesbian. And then afterward, when I had come out as a trans girl, she came out as a trans guy. So the way we had initially met was over a game of Magic the Gathering. I know, right? Nerdtastic. But she just had all the mental things that I was kind of attracted to be honest. But there was one major issue that I always thought was kind of weird, in that she didn't ever talk unless prompted, and always said it in like this stark one-sentence thing, and she just wouldn't open up to me. So I was kind of confused about that. So after we had transitioned and everything, she had come out as trans, and I started talking to her, and I'm like, hey, why don't you come to this support group with me? We can make a field trip of it, and I'll bring the other trans person that we knew. And we did so. So as we went and everything, she just kept kind of looking at me and everything like that. She was just starting her transition, cut her hair like completely short. And then she came to it, and on our way back from that trans meeting, we dropped off the other trans friend we had, and then it suddenly just came out, like completely random, just like, I like you. To be honest, I was quite shocked. I didn't expect that, because we did have somewhat close feelings in high school, and now we have somewhat close feelings as the completely opposite genders. It was kind of odd, to be honest. And then as soon as we said, yes, you know, let's try it, I automatically had my red flags. First off, she still had that issue with not talking to me, having trouble dealing with issues, and just not really bearing a conversation, not really being emotional. And for the first time, this is what I realized I was doing throughout the course of high school. I was clingy and I was looking at them all the time, but I never really talked about who I was, what my issues were, and how I wanted to communicate with them. It became awkward. It became completely one-sided. And I just suddenly gained a dysphoria about that because my partner, this person, wasn't talking to me at all. So I ended up breaking off the relationship, not because I didn't like her, not because I didn't think it could move forward, but primarily because I thought there would be too many red flags for me to go through a relationship as 6 months on hormones. Simply 6 months on hormones. I was essentially a 12-year-old girl at the time, and I would not be responsible enough and mature enough to handle a relationship with another trans person when there were that many red flags. I mean, honestly, I do feel that if we were both a little bit more stable, we would easily be able to do that relationship. And I also want to kind of note this, the entire time I have been saying she as opposed to he, because she did decide to detransition shortly afterward and continue her life as a lesbian, of which I do wish her the greatest of luck. She does have some opinions on trans people and me specifically, but I think that's okay. So with that having been said, when you're dealing with people who liked you in high school or like you now and this transition happens, it doesn't have to throw a wrench in an entire relationship, but it definitely is an issue that needs to be clearly talked about, assessed, and given an option to the other person as soon as this relationship is even brought up. I feel that were anyone in this position, it would be awkward for any trans person, but it would be far more difficult for any person to act the same way if they were going toward that transgender person. So I think it's really important for you to understand exactly what your role in all of that is. that's pretty much it, and I do want to thank you very much for watching Trans Youth Channel. If you do have any questions, feel free to jump right on to transyouthchannel@gmail.com and send us any questions that you might have. You can also apply for that position we have here at Trans Youth Channel, or you can also apply for a wild card, answer any questions or anything of the like. Thanks guys. Bye now.